Jesse, you like to describe yourself as a proud son of the South. Tell me a little bit about growing up in the South.
It was a very conservative, rural area. My dad was a farmer. I went on to college in Chapel Hill. Went to undergrad and medical school there.
So coming from a conservative culture, was it difficult to come out as gay?
I didn't even know what gay was when I was growing up. I was a very late bloomer, I would say. And my coming out process was a rather lengthy one. I was married for a couple of years while I was in my training as a psychiatrist, but didn't really come out until I was in Nashville at Vanderbilt on faculty before I moved to Atlanta.
What attracted you to Atlanta?
Well, there wasn't really much, wasn't much choice about where to come to. I wanted to be in a metropolitan area. I also wanted to be on the East Coast. Being on the wrong side of the mountains didn't work very well for me. I wanted to be close enough to North Carolina to get up to visit my parents as I needed to. I'm an only child, so I knew I was going to need to be back and forth from time to time. And Atlanta was really the only choice. I wanted a large metropolitan area which had a gay community.
And I know a lot of people in the gay community call you Uncle Jesse. Tell us a little bit about being Uncle Jesse.
Well, we have biological family, the folks that we don't have any choice about who we were born to or where we were born. But in the gay community, it's really important that we have family around, people around us that love us, support us, and this is family of choice. And being an elder in that group, I become Uncle Jesse for a lot of folks.
Tell us about some of your community activities.
Well, I started getting involved during the 1980s. I had moved here in 1976. I'd come out while I was in Nashville.
You've won several awards for your activities in the gay community. Can you tell us a little bit about your awards?
Well, in 2003, HRC, the Human Rights Campaign, honored me with a Community Leadership Award. And then I think it was '08, the Gay and Lesbian Chamber awarded me a Lifetime Achievement Award.
As a psychiatrist, you treated both gay and straight clients.
Oh yes.
Is there any difference in the problems you encounter?
Difference in the details, but there's the same kinds of issues. They're all human issues. Lost and Found is the only organization here in Atlanta that deals with homeless gay youth. And organization that was formed about 4 years ago with a group of gay activists. And I've been on their board of directors now for the last 2 years.
You serve on several boards. Tell us about other boards you're on.
I'm just on a couple now. I've been on a lot of different boards over the years, especially during the 80s. It was primarily AIDS service organizations, the State Task Force and YMI Planning Council and a number of those organizations. But now, I guess it was around 2000, I wanted to get involved in something that didn't have to do with death and dying. So I joined the board of the Gay Men's Chorus and the Lyric Theater. Right now, the only two boards I'm on are Lost and Found and Actors Express.
You seem to have a great sense of fun. So tell us a little bit about Camp Merton the original fun place.
Well, I don't know about the original. I had a roommate back during the early 80s, and we, well, let me back up. When I bought this house when I first moved to Atlanta in 1976, and my practice was primarily out in the suburbs. I had my private life here in town, so I could keep the two separate. But I wanted to have a place that was a safe haven, my own Xanadu, if you will. And I decorated it for that. The house, the layout lends itself to entertaining, and I wanted to be able to share that with other folks. As the AIDS epidemic began to have a greater impact, having a place of refuge became even more important. When you're dealing constantly with death and dying, not only in your personal life, but in the lives of the patients that you're seeing, it really takes its toll. And I needed a place I could, a place of refuge, a safe harbor. And I knew how important that was for me, and I wanted to be able to share that with others. And Camp Merton has become sort of an institution over the years.
How important is fun as we grow older? Because we don't often think of old people as having fun.
When you stop having fun, you stop living. You've got to put the best spin on things that you possibly can. Life's going to serve you lemons. You got to make lemonade, and if you can have fun in the process and share it with other people, so much the better.
As we grow older, we often have to face issues of loss, and I think in the gay community, it's probably been a double whammy. What gives some people the ability to deal with loss and persevere with life's challenges?
Well, I started dealing with it in the 80s when I lost my first friend. As I was in my 40s and 50s, I was losing more friends than my mother was in her later years. You surround yourself with people that care about you, and you take care of one another. You support one another. That's the only way you can survive.
You've seen a lot of changes in the gay community in the last 30 years. Can you tell us about some of those changes and where you see the community headed now?
Well, I can only speak about Atlanta from my own experience. There were a whole lot of gay folks here, but there wasn't a whole lot of sense of community. Atlanta was a place to come to where you could be yourself, you could live your life uninhibited, and for many guys it was just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But as the epidemic unfolded, it began to bring people together. We didn't have a gay center. We didn't have much in the way of gay organizations. We had to invent them. We had to make them up as we went along. And people came together. Well, initially they came together to take care of their friends who were getting sick and dying. That's how AIDS Atlanta was formed back in 1982. I joined the board of AIDS Atlanta in '84, about a year and a half after it had been founded. and there was no funding for any kind of aid services. So we came together. We formed organizations and tried to do whatever we could to meet the needs of people who were sick and dying. And this brought people together. It also brought some of the best volunteers we had were our lesbian sisters that joined us, and lots of straight friends, so that you begin to develop a sense of community, and organizations began to form, and then there began to be more of a sense of purpose, of being able to do something when nobody else was going to take care of us. We had to take care of ourselves. Now you ask, where is it going? I don't know where it's headed. Right now we're anticipating the Supreme Court issuing a ruling about gay marriage. We wouldn't even imagine this even 10 years ago, much less back during the 80s when.
So change is very rapid right now. What factors do you think account for this rapid change? Well,
I think there is so much wider acceptance, especially among young people. It's just not an issue that matters that much for young folks. Witness, don't ask, don't tell. The enlisted ranks were having no problem with that at all. It was only the generals that had fear and trembling about what would happen. For young people, it don't matter. What's the big deal? And when those young people are finally running this country, this is just not going to be much of an issue. It's interesting as things have changed. Now I hear some of my colleagues in the community lamenting that there just aren't any gay bars anymore. That used to be the only place we could gather. We wanted to be accepted and like other folks. Careful what you ask for, because now you have gay folks all over Metro Atlanta. They're not just clustered in Midtown. So writing and photography, and your home is filled with art, so creativity must be something important to you. Well, I certainly appreciate that. I love art. I've run out of space to put things. I've stacked them up, but I've just run out of wall space, so I've had to quit buying. Now if I buy something new, I have to give something away to find a place for it. What part does creativity play as we age? Gee, I don't know. I think you have to stay engaged in things that stimulate you, that are fun for you, and certainly the arts have been something that I really love. I really relate to, but you have to keep yourself engaged with other people. I am constantly trying to set up lunches or dinners with people just to keep myself busy, to keep myself involved. That's one of the reasons I stay on a couple of boards, is to offer some challenges, some stimulation. Some source of frustration, perhaps, but that just goes with the process. So if you have any advice for the next generation, what advice would you have for the next generation? Get engaged, get involved, do something that you have some passion about. And there are all kinds of opportunities out there. What works for one doesn't work for the other. I happened to land in the middle of a pandemic. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as for someone who's looking for something to do, but I had no real choice in the matter. I couldn't run away from it. I couldn't run away from it and live with myself, at least. But you got to do fun things too to distract yourself from the awful crap we have to put up with every day. And for some people, it's a bigger challenge than others.
How would you like to be remembered?
I think I'd really want folks to remember me as somebody that maybe made a difference. I certainly tried to do what I could.